Hello, folks. Welcome back to Learn Synthesis with VCV Rack. I'm your host, Dr. Lawrence W. Moore. In this episode, we're going to be looking at a module from the KautenjaDSP library that we've been looking at in the latter half of this Series 3. This one models the Texas Instruments SN76469 chipset. This was a chipset used in the Sega Master system, Sega Mega Drive, and Sega Genesis. And when I was working with it earlier, I was hearing the sound from it, and it was like, wow, this really does capture the sound of that period and from those machines. And so anyway, we're going to have some fun tonight in taking a look at that, or it might be daytime wherever you're at. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say silly things like that. In any case, it's night for me, and it's going to be a good one. So here we go. Okay, so here we go. If you've been following in this Series 3, this design, the GUI of this module is really going to look, quite familiar. It's a lot like a lot of the others. And, but what's truly different about this module is the sound. I mean, it was just sounding spot on. For example, I have it hooked up through an envelope gate right here using the VCV Rack envelope, but I'll show you how it sounds if you bypass the envelope and go straight into the amp input here without an envelope. I need to turn the volume back up. I turned it down because when the gate isn't on, this sound flows. So sounds really of the period, video gamey. And actually not having the envelope, to me, it actually sounds a little bit better. or shall I say more realistic of the period. Because there's no amplitude shaping going on. It's like using just what was in that chipset. So I'm going to actually take it out. All right, so once again, we have amp in here, and the arrows point across showing that you can feed your gate straight to the amp input here, and it will govern all of the audio channels if you use them. And once again, the audio channels also do stack. If I come out channel 2, for example, we will now hear 2 oscillators at the same time. And they are on the same pitch because, as you see, the arrows go this direction. The volts per octave pitch input basically gets carried over. So both of these oscillators are now following the same pitch, but we're hearing 2 tones at once. But of course, that is not going to sound too much different than just one tone if they're playing the same exact note. Let's detune this one by an octave. All I have to do is go in here and then just type divide by 2, which will half the frequency values, putting this first channel down an octave. Really classic type of sound. That's what I was talking about. If you do, for example, put your pitch input here, then this oscillator, since the arrows go this direction, will not change. But if you want to really do like like a two-tone texture, it might be nice to have the liberty of being able to change the pitches. So you could hook up two different step sequencers to these inputs and basically move them along. A few episodes back, I did that with the RCM piano roll sequencers, and that would be something that would be ideal to use here. I'm not going to go through utilizing that again here. That would be, I guess, a little bit redundant, but that's just the idea, just the reminder that how things work in the system. Just follow the arrows. So anyway, now we're at the 1 octave spread there, and it's sounding pretty cool. You can use this with polyphony. Of course, you turn that on right here. However many notes you want. I'm not sure how much polyphony it had, but I would think, since this models the chipset, it would be 3-note polyphony. The fourth channel here is noise, and we'll be hearing that in a moment. So if you want to stay true to that sound, you would probably just use 3-note polyphony. You could leave this on monophonic and, like I said before, use a step sequencer to feed different pitches to these 3 inputs and get your 3 notes. And then you would come out individual channels here and mix them. For example, I just type mixer, using the VCV mixer would be perfect because it's a 4-channel mixer. That one right there that I've used plenty of times in the past. Okay, so another thing that can be done here, I was listening to the sound of using frequency modulation, which is the mod input on each channel. And what we could do, if we want to stay within the chipset's features, we can just take the 3rd oscillator there, feed it into the mod input. I color-coded it yellow because this is actually a control signal now, although it is audio coming in. And we need to turn the mod up a little bit with this dial. It's definitely making it sound more buzzy. And the further up you go, the buzzier it'll sound. It does have key tracking in that this volts per octave is basically coming over into the 3rd channel. So that way, when you set this and find the timbre that you want, you can basically rest assured that it'll sound fairly consistent throughout the range of the keyboard. Now, if you really want to buzz things up a bit, what you would do is maybe use some of the noise. Modulate frequency. Here, I'll just turn this up so we can hear the clear effect of that. There we go. And so, once again, the volts per octave may go over, but in the initial settings, this dial is down. But this is period, not frequency. And I'll show you so you can hear it. There we go. There's a noise modulating this oscillator. Of course, you could also put the noise out on its own. We'll hear that in a moment. But we don't hear a big difference in period like this. But when the noise is on its own, you would hear more of a difference. When it's modulating an oscillator, it's less. And then here, let me get the terminology right here. Yeah, this is the Linear, that's right. I knew it was an L word. Linear frequency register. And you can hear what it does when you turn it on. Not much there. Once again, this is mostly for when you're using the noise on its own, which I think we can do now, but at least you see you can use it for modulation. I'm going to initialize this because we're now going to turn this off, and we're going to come out the noise output. Now, if we turn on the linear frequency register, you see it kind of hones it a bit. And it gives us a very clear, distinct flutter. And the period controls the speed of it. And mostly what I hear is like maybe 3 to 4 different settings. Now, that's one thing about it. Since it's period, not frequency, the volts per octave will not change it. This CV input would really just adjust what I've been adjusting with the dial here. But it lets you control that via CV if you wish to. And this is just an on-off, this input here. Alrighty, so you can adjust its amplitude. But since you're not getting that, you get a perception of pitch from this. But since you can't really change it, you know, if you want to use a tone with a bit of a dirtier sound, it is probably then best to say, do this. Basically, go into the frequency modulation again. This time, turn up the amplitude. The input, I mean the modulation input on this module is more subtle, you know. But we turned up the amplitude. Now we're going to turn up. Wow. So there, you see, you get. As you see, that can give you a real nice and dirty timbre. Let's see here. I am going to come out of this oscillator. Now we have 3 oscillators. This is down the octave. These 2 are on the same pitch. I'm going to tune this one up an octave by putting times. It's hard for me to see. Get an asterisk in there. There we go. Times 2. Now we are. Here's like the central pitch. This is up an octave, down an octave. So that's what we're going to hear. We're not using this, but just in case I use it again later, I want to initialize that. So here we go. All equal amplitude. Very gamey. And if you do use the polyphony, which I believe I still have on, let me do 3-note polyphony. Then you can get a much richer texture. It can get pretty thick quick though. If you spread them out pitch-wise. Like here, I'm going to play DAD. It gets a little bit better, but yeah, on its own, monophonic, it really does have that classic sound. I am going to, and if you want to live a little more dangerously, and what you can do is work with your amplitude to kind of sculpt the sound. I just like to initialize some knobs when, after I've used them. Let's see here. Like that one may be a little bit overbearing because our ears are more sensitive to the upper middle range and the lower high frequency range. So you can kind of use amplitude to kind of turn that down a bit. Maybe the center frequency you want to leave out a bit. Pretty cool stuff. You can spend a good amount of time playing with this. Let's see how it sounds when we hook up our noise as modulation again with 3 tones that we have right now. We'll hook that up to mod. Sounds pretty dirty. Very dirty. And there, when we bring that down, reduce the period a bit, you can hear kind of like the randomization that's creating the noise a little bit more slowly, so it and so what we are modulating there is the upper oscillator. So let's see what it sounds like when we do the middle. Oh, initialize that. Otherwise, when you're not modulating, feeding a signal in to modulate, and you turn this up, it's really like just a pitch shift. So there we go. There are our 3 tones. Turn up the mod. And now let's hear it when we're modulating the lower. It's a lot more of a dirty buzz. On that lower oscillator. But you can work with all sorts of different tunings here, just using your ear. And yeah, even turn this down. You'll probably get down. Use the pitch bend, which in VCV Rack just comes through. You don't even really need to hook up the pitch wheel input. Well, yeah, your input from your pitch wheel here to the sound, it channels it through. me try. Oh yeah. You get some really cool sounds out of this. And you can back off on that with the amplitude. So you can kind of like measure the dirtiness that you want. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to disconnect the noise here so we have a little bit of a cleaner sound. I think I'm going to change the tuning, or at least here, initialize. And we'll make this exactly the octave below again. Initialize. Make this the octave above again. All right, I need to zoom in. When I zoom in like that to see the text larger, second mouse cursor appears. So I try to avoid that, but the zoom functions in VCV Rack themselves do not enlarge the texts. So that's why sometimes I need to zoom in. Okay, so let's hear this clean. That sounds a little funny to me. Oh, I have a frequency mod out of whack there. There we go. All right, good. Something else I want to do here is to how am I going to do this? I think I know. Let's just add another VCA here. Use the good old VCV DCA. Let's take, this is our input, this is our output. Now my mouse has decided to misbehave. Okay. And this is our CV input to control the level. We're going to put an LFO on that. This may not be in the chipset specifically, but it doesn't mean that outside of the Texas Instruments chipset that there weren't other sound chips in there. I don't know. I haven't really looked it up, but I know that, or at least I believe, that I could get a cool sound here. Hold on, a little too fast. Now, one thing you can do also, if you kind of want to have a bit of that tremolo going on, but have it not be as strong, utilize our mixer here. We'll use a VCV mixer. Hold on, let me type that properly. M-I-X-E-R. Where is it? Oh, here it is, right in front and center, the last place I looked. Okay, and what we're going to do is take this input that is being modulated by the LFO, and let's see if the module lets us get two audio signals out of there. There we go. So now this is our dry or unmodulated, and this is our modulated. And it would help if I hook up the output from the mixer, the audio out. And since we have a mixer, we can mix that a little bit. Maybe So there you go. You got, options and stuff as far as now we could have that going and some modulation. I'm going to go back to just 2 tones and switch both cables back. Leave that down the octave. This one I'm going to initialize and use it as a modulator, just to get a little bit more. And see, you can get all sorts of things. And then even like, I would imagine that there could be some delay possibilities here as well. Once again, just using one of the standard VCV delays. And there we go. We're going to go in. And then we got our wet or mix. This will be fully wet, bypassing the wet dry mix. I'd like to have a little, wet dry mix control. About long feedback. And then really to fudge things up a little bit here, let's see. We do have our delay time input right here. We could take a triangle output so it doesn't get choppy like a square or the sawtooth. Yeah, don't want to modulate it too much. Go the opposite direction. Oh, yeah. Shorten the feedback, so you're shortening the tail of the delay reiterations. And then we can turn up the mix a little bit more. Sorry, I'm indulging myself. Let me try a chord. Oh, I went to monophonic. This is how you find some new inspirations now and then. We'll just put on 2 notes. Otherwise it gets a little too thin. I guess after a while that could get a little bit too much. Want to initialize this. There we go. Let's try modulating the feedback. I want to hear it before I adjust the modulation. Try to set the delay time to something. Now, let's turn up the modulation amount. Yes, indeed. Let's try adjusting the LFO rate here. And move this back to delay time. Turn it up. Now that it's slower, I could probably turn it up and we could really hear, like when you hear I adjust the delay time knob here, when you adjust it, it sounds like a bucket brigade delay adjustment, like when you're doing it on the fly with signal flowing through, you hear the mew and the change of pitch. Okay, yes, it is. Watch me just indulge myself. All right, but anyway, as you see, you can have a lot of fun with this chipset, and it gives you really old-timey kind of stuff that, I don't know, out of this one, I've heard it come through a lot more than, well, I wouldn't say a lot more, but at least a bit more than with some of the other modules that we've been doing. So anyway, thank you for joining me. If you found this useful, entertaining, or you know, in any way positive, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Share on social media. I tend to be a bit of a hermit, so any help in spreading the word about this series would be greatly appreciated. Leave a comment. Even just say hello. Sometimes it gets a little lonely. Since I'm doing recordings, I'm talking one direction and I'm not hearing much back. But in any case, any questions and stuff, I will answer them as soon as I can. Until next time, take care and stay free.